Hi, Femme Founders. This is Gia. Welcome back. Here's another weekly read that I've read. It's Fearless by Rebecca Minkoff. And the reason that I came across her book was I've always known her as an iconic designer, but I was listening to a podcast and I found her as a guest on a podcast, and it turned out she had her own podcast. So it's like inception of podcast within a podcast. And her podcast is called Superwomen, and it's all about femme founders, and which means female entrepreneurs. And she has this collective called Femme Founder Collective, where she empowers female entrepreneurs. And to take that a step further, I have iPhone, so I listen to Apple podcasts. I followed it, and I subscribed and followed it, and then I ended up finding out that she had a book. So basically, here's like a total spoiler review. It's a great book. You should totally read it. And now that she's back on my radar, I had no idea what to expect when it came to this book, because I didn't know anything about her. I've known her designs. I've known like they were expensive, but they were like mid-range expensive, where $500 is not a lot for a bag, considering that bags can go up to like $30,000 plus. That's like really high end. But when the average like luxury starter bag is $1,100, it doesn't sound as much as it is, but it really is. So I still think it's expensive. I think $30 for a bag is expensive, but it's just all perspective, and I cannot tell you what is worth it to you, because I don't know where you are in life, where you are in your position, and I can't be one to judge that. So she is a California native who was originally from San Diego, but then ended up moving to Florida because her family had to move. And then she also ended up moving to New York, because that's eventually where that was her Paris, where she was like really jumping into the design scene and realized New York was the best way to go for her. But anyway, her mom was her biggest cheerleader and never really gave her permission, just like held her accountable for whatever she said she was going to do. So for example, she said, "Mom, I'm going to go to New York, I'm going to move there, and I'm going to be a designer, I'm going to do this and that." And she's like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And I love that attitude of just like being free-willed and like, "Hey, I'm not stopping you" kind of attitude. It's just like every woman for herself. And she interviews her mother. Okay, just a side note, I got the audiobook version. So near the end of the book, she interviews her mother. And the way she describes her mother is completely different than how I heard her mother's kind of personality in the interview later. So it was very different from how I pictured a very different woman from how she was described in the audiobook and the story. So her mom is really like free-willed, and in the interview she's like, "Yeah, you're your own woman." And she's like, I don't know, she's very much her own woman. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, you can't pin her down, but then also you don't exactly know a lot about her, because she just touches on her mom here and there. Anyway, it's very sweet. And some key points is the number one thing I learned from this book was pitching yourself. So I am obsessed with pitching. I teach people how to pitch. I teach influencers how to pitch and how to land brand deals. I teach people how to read emails and understand like how to get a feel of who they're emailing, like where on the totem pole they are in their workspace, and how to pitch themselves, and how to like not ask for help, but like take other people up with you when you get to the top. So like that's a whole other thing, but pitching yourself. So the one thing I learned in this book, she specifically goes over saying, pitch yourself by saying who you are, what you're trying to do or what you want, and don't say that like, "Do you have 30 minutes to chat about whatever direction you want to go?" Say exactly who you are, because nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what you want. If you can't like tell like one of your role models, "Hi, I want to talk with you about exactly how to get from A to B, or I want to talk about XYZ with you," or I want to know exactly how to do this. Do you have like a quick guide or any tips on this for my career? Nobody has the time. Nobody has 30 minutes to sit aside and try to figure out with you with your meandering chit chat, your little tete-a-tete. So you just have to tell people what you want straight up, and that's a real pitch. And I thought that was brilliant, because when someone is pitching, you're trying to be polite, but then you also have to like get what you want. You have to be concise. So and you also have to say like, I do this, I do that, and I can benefit your company in this way. So like there's so many ways to pitch, or like if you want to get something from someone, you have to pitch it in a certain way. And so she said, say who you are, say what you want, and then like don't expect a lot of time, basically. So first know what you need, and then know what you want, be informed, and also do some research on the person. So you get a richer experience when you have some research done on the person beforehand. Also, when you're talking to your heroes and when you're trying to level up on anything in your life, you don't just expect to ask something and then get something. Like, kind of like know where you're coming from, where they're coming from first when you're speaking to a person who is above you or someone you're trying to get some advice from. Also, she says, take full responsibility and don't ask for permission for the things you want to do, which I think is awesome, where if you want to do something, you just own it. There's a lot of people that just fall into things. Yes, I understand that, but like she kind of fell into designing handbags, where she originally was trained officially to be a seamstress and wanted to design clothes and would sew clothes together, where she saw a beautiful dress in the window and it was really expensive, and her mom said, I'm not going to buy you the dress, but I'll get you the supplies and you can make the dress, which is like the ultimate teach a woman to sew a dress. It's like teach a man to fish. It's like the ultimate like teach a woman to sew a dress story, like teach a man to fish story. So she ended up spending the rest of her life and became the brand Rebecca Minkoff with her brother, and her brother does like all the left brain business aspects and administration part of it. Like he knows like all the money and the backers and all this, and she's the creative and the design and the right brain, I guess you can say. There's a lot of overlap there, but she feels like intimidated by business people, which I don't understand, because once you understand like some business and like basic like how business works, she has a business. So once you understand like the basics of business and economics, I think it's really easy. I personally am a business nerd, so I love talking about business for hours on end. So anyway, she worked as a paint intern for 2 years before someone even wore her designs. So I never expected to, like, I personally wanted to be a designer growing up, and I would embroider people's pants for them, like their jeans, because I embroidered my jeans to be like this very specific like pastel look on black jeans, and it looked like a chalkboard, like the beautiful pastel colors on a chalkboard is like, that's how it stood out. So, but it was like silky and beautiful, and it was like done, and it just took me 10 minutes to do it, but people really loved it, and they told me what designs they wanted, and I felt like I was like sort of a designer a little bit. But well, that's how Rebecca Minkoff kind of started out with the I Heart New York shirt, and just bought a bunch of I Heart New York shirts and then customized them, and it was worn on the Tonight Show. And then she was fired from her job. Well, like not fired like you're fired, but it was like, I see that your success. Her boss was a designer, and she saw that she was getting her grounds as a designer. She said, okay, you're officially fired. You don't have to work for me anymore. I'm setting you free, kind of thing. So I thought that was really cool, like to have that experience of like, wow, I was fired, but not in like the way where like you're fired. It's a different experience. So so her mom also, something she says in the book is to find your purpose. So like, it doesn't cost you any money. all it costs you is time and effort and just like love and compassion, whatever, something that matters to you, find that, and then the money will follow. So find your purpose and then the money will follow. Where like just dedicate your time, if it's a hobby, if it's like giving back to the community, whatever it may be, like spending time with the ones you love. Just find your purpose in life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one straight path all the time. Just find something you love. It doesn't even have to be paid, and you don't have to ever expect to be paid from it, whatever it may be. I think just finding something that is yours and yours alone. Like, I noticed during lockdown, people were collecting hobbies and learning new skills, and there are things that like you don't like. Some people open businesses, which is even like businesses that thrived, I should say, where others, I thought this was really cool, where others would would start a new hobby that was just for them. Like someone I know I heard about was mixing drinks, like learning how to be a mixologist, or being like learning bartending, and not bartending, but like mixing drinks and cocktails. And that was like their thing. And it's just for them. They don't ever have to share it. Like you can show it with your friends. It's a cute party trick, but it's just for you. So I thought that was definitely something that I agreed with also in the book. Prioritizing money. So like she goes over, she's like, am I gonna prioritize a brunch with my friends, or new buttons for the latest bag design that I'm gonna release? So I thought that was interesting how I have definitely related to this when I had a clothing line, and I would definitely like have no money left over because I put everything into the business and I never spent anything on myself. Profit, whatever, like everything went toward my business expenses. And I never, like when friends invited me out, it would just be like to their house and we would just like eat like bread and cheese, whatever, like, and wine, but like nothing. We wouldn't go out to like a restaurant or anything. We would just hang out and spend time together, but it was never like anything extravagant. So I understood like the enormity of being able to, of having to prioritize your business. Like what's your overhead, and what is more important to you, or how far do you want your business to go? There are very important questions to ask as a business owner. And sometimes like she like spent all her money on opportunities that were supposed to happen that never happened. And like she had like 300 bags like delivered to her apartment front door, which is, it's debilitating, but you really learn a lesson in yourself. Like, what do you prioritize? What did you learn here that you can make better in the future? And I think that's really important. And she also goes into the aspects of social climbing versus offering value. I thought this was extremely imperative as someone who lives in Los Angeles. I constantly see the LA scene where girls are overextending themselves to like famous celebrity males and saying like, oh, we kissed, so now I have an album coming out, like me and this DJ kissed. And it's like, no, it's not. You're not having an album coming out. That's not how it works. And I've never heard you sing, so like how, like, do you have talent? Like, have you studied the 15 years of practicing singing and like studying music theory and all this? It's like, come on, people. So she talks about, so that's like my perspective. That's not in the book, but she talks about the difference between social climbing and then offering value. So I am the number one person who is an advocate for offering value, because I was the young, poor, dumb person who was, I guess, like, not necessarily dumb, but I just didn't have like any like monetary value, any business connections to value in my network that were valuable to the people I knew. But I was someone who traveled a lot, and I could like carry a conversation, and not just in multiple languages too. And I was always like a great host when helping my friends host like their business friends who were visiting from another country or something, and we would take them out partying, or like go dancing or going to the pool, or like the sky pool and whatever. And I kind of offered my friendship and camaraderie as like as a connect to show them around in LA for a fun time anytime they visit, or for a relaxed time, whatever it may be that they're in the mood for. So like if this businessman who's friends, or like someone who does business with my friend, I would come over there, was visiting like from out of the country, I would come over there. I would see my friend like every other day anyway, but I would just like pop in and they'd say, oh, this is Gia, she does this and this. And I find out like his wife is from Brazil, and I'd speak to her in Portuguese or something, or anything like that. Like just make them feel comfortable and have fun, like have a good time. So when you are offering value and you're offering like something to people that like, oh, like you play music, I play music too, like just making them feel good. Or if you have if you make a friend who like if you're the person who is like a hair person, I'm not saying is a hairstylist, but if you have great hair and I meet you and I'm like, oh my gosh, who's your hair person? You are the connect. Your value is that you offer me your connect for your hair person, or you offer me like, oh, here are some supplements I've been taking. Here are my hair care things, my supplies I've been using. This is my favorite brand, whatever. Then that's your value that you're offering. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, this is my person who takes me out to the movies every time. It's like, no, social climbing is more like someone who's only a hanger on to people who are like high society or high status, whatever status it is considered to be of the high status. Like it doesn't have to be high society, but anybody who's like the head honcho in the group, they just want to be seen around them no matter what, even if they aren't necessarily friends with them or not necessarily close with them. And social climbers just want to like get to the top and get like the benefits of being at the top without like doing anything. So that's the way I see it. And so she talks about that like in the book, and how to make it in business by actually offering value. So you can like eventually those people who I partied with, eventually one day maybe, if they need someone who knows like a capital group for real estate, it's like I got some people for that. Otherwise they're like real estate brokers, my friend is. So like we have like a certain network, and I'm more than happy to help them with when it comes to that. And I could just go off. I could just go on about offering value. So there's a lot to unpack here, but the book was absolutely interesting because she really breaks down her view of business. And even though she's not a left brain, seeing her view was like, oh my goodness, she is good at a lot of other things. And I found myself funny enough to have a lot in common with her, but like I have a lot in common. The old me had a lot in common with her, I should say. So it was a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. It's linked below if you want to get it. And I believe that if you are trying to do anything, don't ask for permission. Just do it. Hold yourself accountable. And if there are a ton of mistakes on your journey, that's great. I hope you make tons of friends, and I hope you guys mess up together and have tons of fun doing it, because you will learn so much and you will laugh about it later. I know it's so hard, and don't stop pitching yourself. So all my Femme founders out there, get this. If you can't afford to get this book now, it's totally okay. But I highly recommend it, and you should share it with your friends. Push this out into YouTube's algorithm by liking and commenting below. Whatever questions you have, I'm more than happy to answer, and comments. And follow me on Instagram at GiaGDixon, because it's totally free, and you can even mute me. But it's totally free. And so is subscribing. So subscribe now for more weekly reads, and I'll see you later.